hope it's take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani along with Jerry Usher and you. We say this every single show, but we have new listeners every single show. So we've got to keep repeating that so you understand that this is your show. This is where you weigh in and you share your takes, your experiences on the topics we introduce. And we all learn something. We all walk away from this very quick hour together, a little bit changed, a little bit closer to God. And I'll tell you what, Jerry is so committed to this show. He refused. He said, I'm not going to do it. I don't care how loud it is in this airport. I am coming on the show. And he is right in the middle of a very busy airport. Jerry, where are you?
I'm in an undisclosed airport. I cannot reveal that information.
Well, we can hear the controls and the sounds of people boarding and stuff. So you're heading back to California, I presume?
Yeah, I had my visit with my priest friend in Eastern Oregon, and so I flew out of Boise this morning. My plane just got into Las Vegas, and so if you hear slot machines and people cheering wildly, that means, of course, as always, people are the winners. You know, people win all kinds of money when they gamble in Las Vegas. So
that's what all the noise we're hearing. Well, I'm so glad that you couldn't stay away from the show and our listeners, because I really believe that this is kind of like almost a continuation of yesterday's show, Jerry, in the sense that we are just talking about the dangers that face our children. And today we're asking the question of our listeners, what dangers do your kids face that you didn't when you were growing up? Okay, it was a different time when we were all growing up. We could go out and ride our bikes till 8, 9 o'clock at night. We didn't have cell phones. We showed up late. Our parents weren't really worried. We kept our doors unlocked, that kind of thing. It's very different now with the internet and everything that's happening, and life is changing very quickly. So we're asking the question, can you share with us what dangers your children face in this day and age? We want to be aware of it. We want to know what things we can do as parents and as adults to help our children have a beautiful, safe life, and not to have all these external worries that come with this time and this era. Jerry, wouldn't you agree with that? When we were growing up, it was a much simpler time.
Oh my, yeah, things were a lot different then, and that's goes back for me, growing up, quote unquote, when I was my adolescent and teen years. That was in the 60s and 70s, and so you're talking about 40 plus years, 45 years, whatever. And so that's at least a generation. And so, yeah, I mean, so much is different. We took so many things for granted. Like you said, things were safer. We left our doors unlocked in most of our neighborhoods. But of course, now we have things like, for example, social media. We have the internet, and it's all of the good things that it presents to us, but all of the potential dangers as well that we didn't have when we were growing up. We have cell phones. Okay, that's a potential danger. So parents who are listening right now, we want you to weigh in and make this show beneficial for all who are listening. What are some of the dangers that you see as you're raising your kids? Some of the flags that go up, the things that you want to try to help them navigate that are maybe a little bit more pernicious or dangerous than when you were growing up. Here's the number. It's 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986.
Jerry, I was very pleased to see that the usccb.org website, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops website, partnered with the Greek Orthodox Church, and there's some other initiatives that are happening to help parents protect their children. And there's all sorts of apps and things out there that can assist parents in keeping those safety controls in place without alienating the children, because I've heard of recent studies that teens are really getting fed up with how parents are over exercising the control there of keeping the teens off the internet. But you know what? These are our precious, beautiful minds and hearts and the future of our church and our life. And you know what? I think it's important that we do talk about this from all angles to find out what is the best approach to protecting and helping our kids. So we're asking the question today. Please, folks, weigh in on this. Help us out. My children are grown. I'm on to the grandchildren. Jerry doesn't have any children, but he's interested in this because we're all someday we're going to be taken care of by our kids. You know what I mean? So it's important. We have a vested interest in this. Help us out with this and tell us what are the dangers your kids face? How are you aware of it? What are you doing about it? Call in and share with us what's happening in your family. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986.
Yeah, maybe you think that the media have changed so much, so drastically. We talked about TV commercials on yesterday's show. What about movies? What about video games? For example, all right, listen, most of us, Debbie, my age, you're a little bit younger than I am, most of us grew up with Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, pinball machines, really kind of innocuous, fairly innocent things. Now you look at the video games that are coming out, and these are, they're violent. They're in many ways contrary to the faith. They introduce spiritual influences and so forth. That's just one thing. So moms and dads, it shouldn't take you more than about 60 seconds to scan the day-to-day lives of your kids and say, wow, we didn't have that when I was growing. We didn't have that. Wow, there's something else there that is a potential danger for my kids. We're not trying to poo-poo everything here. As Debbie said at the start of the show, we just want to really try to get a grasp on how you as parents are adjusting to a different life than you grew up in, that your kids are growing up in. So join Kate, whose call is being screened right now, and the others. You got a couple open phone lines, but you got to hurry if you want to be among the first callers.
Yeah, so here's the number, 1-833-288-EWTN. Again, that's 833-288-3986. Please weigh in on this and share your wisdom. We just want to know how to navigate this, how to protect our children, how to advise them, how to educate them. Our kids are they want to have a good life. They want to have a fun life, and we want that for them, don't we? And if we do, what are we doing to put in place the safety net, if you will, for them, so that they don't go out there and do something that could really be dangerous and even life-threatening. So here's the number, 833-288-3986. Jerry Usher is with us. He's in a very busy airport in Las Vegas, Nevada. I haven't heard anybody win at the slot machine yet, so I don't think that's going to happen. But he's with us for the entire show. We're excited about that. Phone lines are starting to fill up. You have something to say about this. Remember, this is your show. This is the question. Think about it and hurry to the phones and call in. What dangers do your kids face that you didn't? That's the question we're asking today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. When we come back, Kate is up first and the others are right in line, adding their wisdom on this topic.
EWTN radio affiliates is EWTN News Nightly with Lauren Ashburn and her great team, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, weekdays here on many of these EWTN radio affiliates. And Debbie, before we go to the phones, I've just got to say that I'm not getting any funny looks today. And the reason that I mention that is because, as you know, you've done the show, I think, from an airport before, and we have this new technology that actually goes through our phones. And so I'm using my phone with my Bluetooth earpiece. So everybody thinks I'm on a phone call. But in the past, when I've done the show from airports, we have the whole Comrex box set up and the headset on with the microphone connected. And people look over like, what is going on over there? And they hear a talk about the faith and all this stuff. But today nobody's even looked over at me yet.
So they just think you're on a call for work, which you
Yeah,
are.
I am, yeah.
Yeah. It's just an hour-long call with a global audience and all of our listeners. So, hey, guess what, folks? There is an open phone line. Come on, somebody jump on that line. If you're prompted by the Spirit, you have something to say, you feel that little nudge in your spirit saying, okay, I have something to say about this. I can really make a difference and give some, impart some wisdom on this topic and help others. Please do so. Jump in. We're very friendly. You'll speak to Ryan. He's a great call screener. You'll talk to him. You'll get to listen live. He'll put you on hold. So here's the number, 833-288-3986. And you can do just what Kate did. And Kate is in Ohio on Living Bread Radio listening. Hi, Kate. Thank you for being first up and welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Well, thank you. I listen to you quite a bit. I listen to EWTN all the time. But this subject that you talked about today is really relevant because I have 2 great-grandchildren and 4 grandchildren, and I've been on the planet a long time. I'm a lifelong Catholic. But you're wondering what parents should be doing. A couple of things. If I were parenting today, I would be a parent, not a friend. I see a lot of that among my children's friends. They want to take, little Tommy, Joey, Susie to wherever all the time. The kids are far too busy. They don't have enough time to just sit down and take a nap or read a book or do whatever. Instead, they're out competing. They have to be in this sport, that sport, another sport. I mean, they even have to program going to church and maybe even having dinner. So there's no more conversation going on. And I witnessed this in my own family, so I'm not being critical of everybody else. But it is in everybody's place. What I would do, I would turn off the television and not let them watch any news at all unless I approved it. I definitely agree with them monitoring the phone. I think they should only be on that phone an hour or half a day, and I would take and lock them up at night so that they're not on it all night. Because some of these kids, and this happened in my own family, they're up all night talking with their friends or texting their friends or doing whatever with their friends. Then they get up in the morning and they're tired. And so they go to school tired. And so they're not eating right. So I see tired kids. I see kids who are not eating correctly. I see kids who would rather talk on the phone than communicate with you because when they get on that phone, they've lost the ability to communicate. They've also lost the ability to be decision makers and to be problem solvers unless they're on a phone. So I see a lot of problems and a lot of things that I would do with my own. And I do with my grandchildren. They are not allowed to be on the phone when they're at grandma's. They're definitely not allowed to be on the phone at dinner time or when we go out to eat. They all know, from the littlest one all up, to put the phone away because grandma's coming, because I want to talk to them. I want their undivided attention. And I'm their grandmother. I'm not their grandfriend, okay?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because my role as a grandmother is more than a friend. It's to teach and to help, to support, and to love them, to pray for them. I would teach them to pray, too.
Right.
Which is what I did with my own.
Beautiful. Kate,
So that's all my advice.
Well, that's great advice. Thank you so much for being first up and for just getting us right out of the gate started firmly in this topic. I just wanted to say a couple things, Kate. I agree with you. I'm a firm believer of parents being parents and not friends first. There's time for that later on when the kids are grown up and they're mature adults and they've made it in the world and they've done and they've spent time in this world maturing. Then you can maybe transition that into more of somewhat of a friendship. But parents first. I'm a firm believer of that. And I think we're in a world where we're competing for our kids' attention and love. And it's very unfortunate because, like you said, setting those ground rules gives the children consistency and safety. And from what I have read and what I have studied and what I've learned in school, Kate, is that's what kids want. They want that safety and consistency. They need to know their boundaries, and they need and they can flourish safely and happily within those beautifully set boundaries. And that's what it says. Like that's what it sounds like you're sharing with us, Kate. Do we have that correct?
Yes, you absolutely have that correct. And I'll tell you, my one set of grandkids are the product of a divorce, which is absolutely horrible. I mean, the lack of commitment on the part, I blame the parents for a lot of this. Will have to say, we raised the generation that are raising this generation that is not doing well. But what happened to us when we raised our generation? Why did our children turn out the way they turned out? I don't know. My kids go to church and they're pretty much conservative with my own values, but I took them with me to church. I didn't send them. I took them. I limited the number of sports activities they were allowed to be in. They could each be in one. But then they had to do some creativity at home. I mean, they had to sit at the dinner table every night, even when they were in high school. And I can remember the moans and the groans and the battles. But I also remember the kids that showed up with them because they didn't have a place to go for dinner because their mom and dad had to go do this or they had to go do that. And I never was a friend to my children, and I'm pretty proud of that. I am a friend of my children right now. But not when they needed a mom. I was a mom. So I don't know. It's really sad. I pray every day for our society and for these kids. And this social media, it's good. I'm not against it. I use it myself, but I think we need rules and regulations, and I need no set of rules. We need to teach them to the kids. I mean, and I tell you something else. I am appalled when they go to school and I see how the teachers are dressing and how the teachers are acting. I mean, these people we've hired to be teachers, why can't they dress like their teachers? Why do they have to dress like they're one of the kids? Why can't they put their phones away while they're at work?
You've got a lot of great wisdom there, Kate. You're passionate about it too. That's exactly what we love about this program is you are part of the Take Two family. We learn from you. And Kate, there are young mothers and fathers listening right now who are taking and soaking in the wisdom that you're sharing right now and that our other callers are going to share as well. So thank you, Kate. God bless you. We got a lot of callers we want to get to talking today about what dangers do your kids face that you didn't when you were growing up. And just speaking of social media real quick, tomorrow's program is on social media. Are you comfortable with your social media footprint? All of you that is on the internet, are you comfortable with that? We're going to, after maybe many years of operating social media profiles and accounts. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Thanks, Kate. We're going to go to Ben next in Dallas, Texas, listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Ben. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, guys. Thank you very much for for taking my call. So professionally, I'm in marketing, so I have to track a lot of kind of what are the messages being put out there. I have to know a lot about social media, and personally, I'm not on any of the social media unless I absolutely have to be, because you see behind it, and it's not that it's inherently bad, but it is problematic. And I think there's a lot of focus often on the content of things. And really, I mean, for the families listening to you guys, to any of the EWTN morning, there's so much good advice to help and so much research out there showing that if you can talk to your kids, and I always try to talk to my daughter, to just help them understand things, then you can put those things in place, whatever messages they're getting. What concerns me a lot more is the instant gratification culture that's out there and how, it's always been there, but the amplification of that. I mean, you were talking about video games. I'm less concerned about the violence in video games. Obviously, that's a concern, than with the things that are undercurrent messages of, well, if you just do this small activity, you get a little dopamine reward. And what that does is it makes the expectation of pleasure, so much more. It's like we're turning kids into addicts. And honestly, I'm not sure there's anything we can do to completely prevent it. I think it needs to be a proactive solution of giving a better message, giving a better solution, something that really brings real happiness. But we're also going to have to find creative ways, and honestly, I'm not sure exactly how to do this, but to provide little bits of that feedback to make them feel rewarded for things that they're doing in the instant, and then guide them to to deferring that gratification. Because I'm not sure it can be beaten head on. I'm sure you guys have heard of the marshmallow test and stuff. That deferred gratification is such an important part of becoming a healthy adult, being a successful adult, morally and kind of socially. And we don't have that at all. And I think that's where the social media really gets dangerous in the pursuit of, I want to feel liked by my friends, or I want to feel loved in various ways and stuff, without even knowing what those things are. I'm thinking those things are just emotional reactions, rewards for doing something, instead of responsibilities and actions the way we understand them as Catholics.
Yeah, Ben, this is a great take on this. Thanks so much for calling and sharing it. It just brings to my mind so many examples of what you're talking about. Kids need to learn, like you said, delayed gratification for reasons simply of being able to navigate life as it is. For example, you don't go to school for a week and get your high school diploma. You've got to go many, many years. You have to go many semesters. You have to take exams. You have to study for exams. What about a job? You know, when people take a job, you don't go to work for 5 minutes a day and clock out and say, I did my day's work. You got to go for 8, sometimes 10, 12 hours. And of course, this even has spiritual ramifications, because with God, see, this life is a journey. It's a spiritual journey. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to sin. We're going to fall. We need to grow. We need to grow in prayer. We need to grow in virtue. We need to grow in holiness. All of this, none of this is instantly going to happen unless God zaps us in some way, and he just simply doesn't choose to do that. So, Debbie, I don't know if you've got some thoughts, but Ben has really hit on something very critical here.
Oh, absolutely. Ben, I was just soaking it all up, making notes, just frantically making notes, because you said so many great things. I was just thinking the same thing Jerry was, that this life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And these kids are going from sprint to sprint to sprint, getting that fix. And then what does it say for their long-term commitment and discipline and dedication and all the things that have to go into working towards achieving things in this world and using their gifts for the glory of God. Ben, as you were speaking, though, when you said, how do we present these different alternatives to kids to get them to mature in a way that's different from what they're being trained by the world and by society? My quick answer to that is we've got to give them some real deep encouragement in their passions. And what I mean by that is I think when kids recognize that they do have these special, unique gifts, and we can foster that. I think about, I have a niece who was very much encouraged by her mom and her teachers to take up her creative skills in art. And she's now an accomplished artist, and she's done great work, and she's written books and done all sorts of things. And it's because, that passion, she recognized that they recognized the gifts in her. They fostered it. That passion continued to grow, and it was fueled into something that is really beautiful, a lifelong commitment rather than versus this instant gratification. Would you agree with that, Ben, that we've got to start really tapping into these kids' skills and gifts and encouraging that to maybe give them another alternative on how to conduct themselves in this world? What do you think, Ben? I just thought of that off the top of my head.
Actually, that is brilliant, because one of the things you can, again, being in marketing and stuff, you can give someone an artificial sense of accomplishment. What you cannot give them is a sense of purpose. And there's so much effort in the messaging that's out there right now to confuse those two things, to make you feel like, oh, I did this, and that is different. We're here to do something and to use your gifts towards something greater. And I hadn't thought of it that way, but now that you say that, that is absolutely brilliant. And I think Jerry's over in Vegas. One of the things to understand is, there is an entire industry of psychological study that's built so many of the casinos down there to be addictive. They've moved, all that research has been taken by the people who are producing media, especially online and video games right now. And but the one thing that can't do, with any addiction, like how do people who break gambling addictions do that? That's a great point. They've got to put their faith and trust in God, but they also need to connect with that sense of purpose. Right. Ben, you are, maybe, you know what, if I have to be away from the show at any time in the future, I'm just going to call you up, Ben, and we'll have you co-host with Debbie. You've got some great wisdom. Debbie, you
sounds
too.
Great
Stuff. Mm-hmm. Kelly, hang on. You're going to be next. We have Jose in South Bend, Indiana. Kayla's on the line. We have some emails and social media talking today about what dangers did your kids face that maybe you didn't when you were a kid. 833-288-3986.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, so we'd love to hear from you. Here's the number to call in to be on the show, 1-833-288-3986. We're talking today about the dangers that kids face. And it's an important topic to discuss. And I just wanted to say, Jerry, real quickly, that we're getting some comments coming in for Kate. Kate, if you're still listening in Ohio, hope you are. And Ben in Texas, folks think you should write a book on giving parents advice. So there you go. Write a book. People are loving it.
I'll second that.
Yep, absolutely. Those are great comments. I have so many notes. I'll tell you, this is awesome. Okay, so should we go back to the phones, Jerry? This is going to get exciting now. Kelly in Traverse. Okay, Kelly in Traverse City, Michigan, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for waiting and welcome to Take Two.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for waiting, and we love to hear what you have to say about this.
Well, first of all, I want to agree wholeheartedly with your last caller in how social media is causing people to need that instant gratification. Not only that, but comparing their lives, their happiness with what they perceive other people's lives and happiness are like the way they're portrayed on social media. And it kind of relates to what I was calling about in that I'm another grandmother. And this is a cautionary tale for parents of children, my grandchildren's age, and what happened to my grandchildren. My daughter was married for 10 years, has 3 beautiful children, had a lovely home, and she started a dialogue on social media with an old boyfriend that she had not seen since high school. And this dialogue progressed to the point where she did leave her family. My son-in-law is now raising my 3 grandchildren practically on his own. She hadn't seen this man for 15 years. He lived on the other side of the country. And so without social media, I know that this would not have happened. I didn't live in her marriage, and I imagine it wasn't any more perfect than most marriages, but I think things could have been worked out if it were not for this reconnection, which has destroyed her family. And what I want to say to parents out there is that they need to police themselves on social media, these kind of things. It's an insidious danger that can sneak up on them practically without their knowing it, and before you know it, lives can be destroyed, absolutely destroyed.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, God bless you for calling. We're sorry to hear about the situation. I personally know someone who I'm very, very close to who was flirting, quote unquote, flirting with another woman, not his wife, on social media, and that has really brought a wedge between them and their marriage. And I'm just praying night and day for them. And this is a multi-generational problem, like you said. You've got your daughter, and now she has kids, and so we're talking about 3 generations really here of changes in how kids are raised and how they grow up. But see, a lot of parents, a lot of adults are now on, of course, social media and so forth. We can talk more about that tomorrow. But one of the things you may have heard, Kelly, I was visiting a priest friend last week, and there was a funeral in his parish. And I remember at the cemetery, once the service had been done, everyone was getting ready to leave. There were several elderly people, easily in their 70s, maybe early 80s, talking about, hey, yeah, I found you on Facebook, and I caught up with so-and-so on Facebook. So, this is really just so pervasive, Debbie. And the thing is, like Kelly made the point, everyone has to police himself or herself, and the temptation, because you think it's private, nobody's watching, you can do whatever you want, and you can get away with whatever you want. It's a very, very dangerous thing. In spite of all the good that it can do, it could be a trap. And Kelly's daughter learned that lesson, unfortunately.
Right. That's why if you've ever listened to the show on a regular basis, Kelly, I've often said that I feel that social media and internet, everything on the web, all that kind of stuff is the devil's playground. It really is an easy way to fall into temptation, because temptation's all around us. And I agree with you. Parents need to police themselves, especially if we're going to protect marriage. We need to guard our eyes. We need to guard our actions. We need to center it in prayer, because unfortunately, you're living this out with what happened to your daughter, your son-in-law, and your grandchildren. And that's very unfortunate, because you stated it, they didn't have a perfect marriage, but it was good. It could have worked out, and they have the children, and they made a commitment to one another, I'm assuming in front of God. So you know what? This is where the dangers are. And I think we need to be aware of this and to protect our families so that we don't have children growing up with parents, that are split up or separated, or have abandoned kind of the role of being a parent because they wanted to go on to pursue other things. I'm going to pray for your daughter, Kelly, because my heart feels really heavy. It just does. I just feel like, and I don't want to prejudge or anything like this, but I just feel like maybe someday as she gets older, she's going to realize that maybe that wasn't maybe the right choice for her and for the family. Are you okay with me praying that way, Kelly, or do you want me to pray a different way?
No, most definitely. It's what her father and I pray for every day. I highly doubt that her her marriage can be mended. This has been 2.5 years now, but she has, yet to see the error of her ways. And I agree with you also that social media is most definitely the devil's playground because it makes it a little too easy. Infidelity has been in existence, since the beginning of time, but there's that cloak of not anonymity because you're speaking to someone but somehow it's easier to type something than you would say something to someone's face or even on a phone call. I think it's easier to type something, and I think the conversation escalates into that danger area more quickly. Right. This is my belief. And because of what's happened, I spend a lot more time caring for my grandchildren, and quite often, I'll take them to fast food restaurants or things like that, and I'll look around and I'll see the other young parents there with their children, and everyone is staring at their phones. And this is having a very adverse effect on our young children. I mean, just the parents really need to start policing themselves, but mostly, what happened in our family, I would never wish on another family, and there's no, it's too easy. I hate to overuse that phrase, slippery slope, but once you get started in these dialogues, I think they can just too easily wander off into some very, very dangerous waters.
I think you're very right, Kelly. You also have made some very wise and brilliant comments here on the program, like our previous callers. Thank you so much. You mentioned, echoing Debbie, that social media can be the devil's playground. We know that it can be used for so much good. But Debbie, you may recall that the Bishop Thomas Tobin of Providence, Rhode Island, about a year ago, just shut down his Twitter account because he called it for him an occasion of sin. So we had a bishop who called his Twitter account an occasion of sin. And now he was just simply taking the responsible path for him in his state in life, in his role. And he probably felt it was taking too much of his time, or maybe he was getting a little bit too worked up about things or whatever. So everybody just needs to really examine their use of social media. And that's a great lead-in, I think, to tomorrow's program as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But real quickly, Kelly, thank you again. I just wanted to say, as you were speaking, Kelly, Matthew 19:26 came to mind. With God, all things are possible. You said it's been about 2.5 years. If your son-in-law has a forgiving big heart for the sake of the family, you never know. Things can work out where maybe they could come back together and continue their beautiful family. So I'm gonna focus on that. Matthew 19:26. With God, all things are possible. Thank you again, Kelly, so very much. Yes, tomorrow's show, Jerry, real quickly is, are you comfortable with your social media footprint, what you put out there in public? So I just wanted to say that's going to be for tomorrow's show, so make sure we continue this. Jose in South Bend, Indiana, has been waiting so patiently on Redeemer Radio. Hi, Jose. Welcome.
Hi, Debbie, and hi, Jerry. I'm calling because when I heard a topic about the dangers, I guess, the kids face nowadays, and one of the things that make me reflect, is something that I have seen that is, I believe is a cause, and that's why kids behave the way they are nowadays. It's a lot of in a way, the danger is the power the parents give their kids about their decisions. And I'm talking on the fact that, the way that I grew up, little things like to eat, your foods. Because if your mom makes something that has vegetables and things in there, because they're good for you, so you eat them. It wasn't like an option that if you like them or not. And I see more and more like nowadays, like, well, if he doesn't like it, well, let him eat whatever, pizza, something, not unhealthy, little things like that. But even then nowadays, there was this occasion about a couple in our parish where they have a young kid. It was like a couple years old. And there was this one time where somebody asked him, "Hey, you guys weren't here last Sunday in Mass, and says, oh, the kid threw a fit, so they did decide not to go to church." Little things like that, what I see were kids, in a way, since they're real little, they're kind of like controlling the adults. So they have this kind of like pull on their parents, instead of the parents kind of, in a way, enforcing what is supposed to happen, like, because we're the parents. And you guys talk a little bit before about the kids don't, somebody mentioned about kids don't need friends. They have enough friends in school and all these other events and things where they participate. So they need parents, and but then, the thing, the parents are allowing so much power on the kids as far as to make decisions where they don't know how to make those decisions. Mm-hmm, because if you ask a kid, and this happened with my sister, actually. My sister, stopped eating meat since she was at a young age, But it was funny. It was a funny thing that happened where she wouldn't eat meat, but she was eating like ham and sausage and stuff like that. And somebody says, "Yeah, but that's also meat," So she was like, "Oh, well, then I'm going to stop eating all that too." And
right. She didn't know. Yeah.
Well, it happened that now she has a little girl, like a 1-year-old, and somebody mentioned about, so are you gonna, are you gonna allow your girl to eat meat or something? And she said, well, if she wants to and stuff like. So that's when I asked her, well, if when she's growing up, if she says that she doesn't want to go to school, will you let her not go to school? And she was like, shocked. And it's like that, since they're little, we're like, I don't know, it's this thing about, being controlled by feelings, about, what I feel like eating, what I feel like trying. When we're little, too, I mean, the way that we were growing, especially with socializing and things like that, when you will get to a party, especially gatherings with family and things like that, you have to go and say hi to, especially all the relatives. And even had to go and shake their hands and say hi, like good afternoon or something like that.
But Jose, you said so. Yeah, but Jose, you said so many great things. Let me just tap because I'm over 50 years old, so if I don't recall it quickly, I'll lose it. Real quickly, Jose, I wanted to share with you something you said. You reiterated, and I think we've established in this conversation that it's important for parents to be parents and not win the popularity contest and be their children's friends. Okay. But here's the thing. I believe that because my family has split up through divorce. And it was out of my control. Okay. I got a divorce 11 years ago. And I noticed that prior to that, when we had an intact family, okay, mom, dad, and the kids, we could set those ground rules. We could set those parameters, if you will, for our children to know how to behave in a proper, respectful way and in a good, wholesome way. Okay. Then after the divorce, it became this competition to win our children's love. And that's where it really changed to where it was not healthy for the children at all. And it wasn't healthy for us as adults. And I'm wondering, Jerry and Jose, Jerry, comment on this because you're a child of divorce. Wouldn't you say too that it can be a little bit easier when you have an intact family that's solid and on good ground and traveling in the same direction together, as opposed to a family that has been split apart by divorce? Then you might have some of these things happening where parents are trying to be their children's friends.
Well, yeah, I think that very well may be true. It's going to be different from one family to the next. But yeah, I think it may be perhaps in some sense a universal phenomenon that when parents aren't able to stay together for whatever reason, and some marriages just really are abusive and so forth. So we don't want to judge that. But then, the parents may tend to look at the kids, in a way that they want to, give them a little bit more freedom, a little more leeway. give them more things or more, attention, just whatever they feel is going to help to kind of salve the pain or the wounds the kids might be going through. So yeah, I think your point is a good one. And I think, even Jose talked about, kids being given so much authority and power and decision making, about, he used the example of what they eat at the dinner table. Well, that could be even extended to when they eat. You've got kids now, dinner time is 6 o'clock, and Johnny says, well, I got practice till 7, I'll just grab something when I get home or whatever. So, parents, families just have to just take a look at this. This isn't, any kind of a tirade to say, don't let kids have activities and don't give them any input on, the menu at dinner and what the family does and things like this, but just vigilance. I think vigilance is the key, just to make sure that, like you, Debbie, have said, and Jose and previous callers, that parents are first and foremost parents, and not so much buddy, friend,
right.
with their kids trying to earn or maintain that friendship first. They're responsible primarily for getting those souls to heaven, performing them to get to heaven when they become
Exactly.
adults. So.
Exactly. Thank you, Jose, so very much. You are so kind, and great words that help this conversation. We'll let you get on with the rest of your day. Real quickly, Jerry, I just wanted to say, talking about good, wholesome things to bring into your inbox and your email and stuff. How about Church Pop? Church Pop is so awesome. Church Pop features new online Christian content that's fun, informative, and inspirational. And you can find it on Snapchat, Instagram, and on the web at churchpop.com. It comes into my inbox at 4 a.m. I love it. The articles are great, and it is informative, and it is inspirational. I can guarantee that. Jerry, I know you love Church Pop as well, so I encourage everybody. That's a good thing to bring into your house, churchpop.com.
Yep, one more service of EWTN. Back to your phone calls in just a moment. We did have John weigh in on YouTube, on social media, as a pallet full of soft drinks whizzes by me here at the airport. John said, for me, I suppose the danger that kids face these days is having a cell phone glued to their hands. There are so many negative influences that can come through that device. So Debbie, John thinks that is certainly one of the dangers potential dangers that young people face that maybe we didn't a generation or two ago. And Casey corresponded at take2show.com. Take2 at EWTN.com. And Casey said the simple fact of playing outside, a good cartoon on a Saturday morning, a good meal, sitting together as a family to eat, everything is drive-through, walking down the dirt roads to go to the swimming hole and feeling safe. Some kids have to even fear their parents. And then Casey sent a second email. She said, I wanted to add, what about all the makeup these girls are influenced by? It's hard to be a teenage girl in this time. So thank you, Casey, for those emails.
Yes. And Jerry, I just have to say this real quickly. I also believe, in my humble opinion, all the long-term studies aren't out yet. I think there's a definite danger to the radiation exposure as well with these cell phones. I just believe it. So I'm just saying, you watch, folks, down the road, we're going to be hearing things. It just doesn't seem natural. Okay. Kayla in Fort Worth, Texas has been waiting so patiently on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Kayla. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I love you guys both. I listen to your show all the time. This is my first time calling in, so I'm a little nervous. But I'm a younger mom. I'm in my early 30s, and I have a 7 and an 8-year-old, and then also a 5-month-old. And one of the problems I have constantly is just everything that's on TV. I feel like I can't let my children watch TV, whether it be the news because of all the transgender things that are going on, or all the, the secular media, everything that they're putting out, the commercials, it used to be where only like late at night they would put like Viagra commercials or other type of commercials like that. And now I've caught it like any time of the day. And, I don't want my kids to be curious, oh, what's that? What's that? And especially even the cartoons. I have to actually sit down and watch the cartoons that my children are watching, because some of them, they either have inappropriate jokes, or they have either like a lot of witchcraft or hidden demonology things in them. I really just have to pay attention to what kind of cartoons they're watching, and so they already know like which ones are okay and which ones they are like not allowed to see at all.
Right, right. Well, Kayla, real quickly, I just want to say you're a great mom. I mean, look how much you care about your children. It's so beautiful. I just wanted to say, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, you're going to have to preview everything in this day and age on what your children are viewing.
Right.
But here's the great news, Kayla. There are many things out there. You can get a library together. I would also go on social media and talk to some of your other friends who are moms and say, you know, what have you found that is good? And, you know, if you can't preview everything, maybe they have. There's a lot of faith-based stuff out there right now. I mean, my kids grew up on Veggie Tales. I don't know if you remember Veggie Tales, but my kids grew up on Veggie Tales simply because I just loved singing the songs. They just got stuck in your head. They had a biblical message. It was just, for me, it worked for my kids. But those were things that I previewed ahead of time as well. And I think we just have to do that in this day and age. But you're doing that. And so it sounds like, you know, it's a good thing. I would just enlist your friends to help you build this library from the internet and other sources that you're ready to go when your kids want something they want to watch. You have already previewed it. It's good to go. What do you think, Jerry?
Well, yeah, and I think I'm happy, Kayla, that you said you screen the cartoons that your kids are watching and so forth, and that's very, very important. In fact, you know, like Debbie said, you know, Veggie Tales. I remember when I was growing up, I don't know, it was Speed Racer or whatever the cartoons were. But nowadays, it's not only TV and media, but it's like school books, for example. You know, if anyone is listening, if you're a parent and your kids are in any, really, literally any grade nowadays, and you're not combing through very carefully, very vigilantly, very diligently combing through their textbooks and learning what they're being taught in schools and so forth. See, this is one of the real major dangers, I believe, that we didn't face. I mean, we may have had some revisionist history, you know, when it came to, founding the country or different social studies or history or whatever. But that was pretty innocent compared to what's being promoted now, you know, with the abortion, the contraception, the free sex, the same-sex agenda and all of this stuff. So, yeah, I think Kayla's onto something, Debbie, that could be expanded, you know, beyond just the cartoons and the media to really everything that our kids are involved in.
Yeah. And you can even start a group, Kayla. I mean, this could become part of like a ministry for you to have some wholesome things for your children to view. I love your spirit. I love your heart. You sound just like an awesome mom. And so we're just going to be continuing praying for you that your family just does just beautifully well in this world. And it will, because you're a great mom. So thank you, Kayla. Janine and Marilyn and Ian and the others, we're not going to get to you today, but there's always tomorrow's show. And Jerry, I think this is like a continuation we're doing, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to talk about, are you comfortable with your social media footprint? And of course, we know a footprint to be sort of the range as it expands out of our presence, if you will. A radio station, for example, has a footprint. How far out does it broadcast? Well, social media footprints are global, and we jumped on the bandwagon. Facebook, Twitter, it used to be MySpace, and now all of these social media comments, and our lives, our information, who we are, what we do, where we go, who we associate with, in many cases is all over the world for anybody, anywhere to see at any time. How much have you done of that? Are you comfortable with that? Do you feel, are you okay with that? Or do you feel like maybe, gosh, I wish I could reel some of that in? So that's our topic tomorrow.
That's pretty great. I'm looking forward to it. Real quickly, Jerry, just wanted to remind our listeners, because January is a resolution month. Okay, we started a challenge saying if you want to opt in, just send us an email saying I'm in to pray more. Let's pray more at gmail.com. Just send us an email, say you're in for the challenge. We're just asking you to maybe say a rosary a day, the Memorare, the St. Michael prayer. We're just praying together as a Take Two family. Just drop us an email at letspraymore@gmail.com. Sound good to you, Jer?
Sounds good to me. I am going to see what's happening around the Las Vegas airport here. My flight's not for another couple of hours, so it's great to be with you with this new technology through the phone, Debbie. So I'm glad I could join you, and thanks to the great show team, Rich, Jeff, and Ryan, and everybody at EWTN.
Safe traveling, Jerry. We'll see you tomorrow, and to all of our listeners, have a beautiful and blessed day. See you real soon.